Hello and welcome to another video for the 6th Axis. I am Stefan, or Teflon, and today I'm joined by Jim. Say hello, Jim.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about Unravel. So this is a game created by Coldwood Interactive. It's being published by EA, and you might best remember it for Martin Salin's appearance on stage to announce it at E3. The game's out on February 9th, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC, and if you have EA Access or Origin Access, which is now the PC version of this, you can download a trial later this week on February 4th. That gives you the first 2 levels of the game. You can play it for 10 hours, and it's this part of the game that we're going to be talking about in this video today. So, Jim, first off, let's just talk about Yarny, because he is just so adorable, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he just sort of springs to life at the beginning of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he sort of appears and sort of clambers up onto the chair in this living room, and he's like, you don't know anything about him really. You don't know what his purpose is. You don't know what he's doing, but like as you play, he's just got so many cute little mannerisms. Like the first time that he sees a butterfly, and he's sort of like, "Whoa, what's this? It's a butterfly. That's cool." Yeah,
it's kind of weird. Like he isn't like a established sort of character. You don't sort of build him up. He just appears. He's born out of a ball of wool, and I suppose he's just a vehicle for the player to experience these levels that Coldwood have designed.
It's going to be interesting to see how people interpret the story. I mean,
yeah,
it's very much that they are giving you all of these little things in the world, and you're basically playing through the kinds of memories of someone.
Yeah, it's like he gets up on the table and he looks at an old photo album or something like that.
Yes,
and he has a sneak peek inside. There's pictures of like family holidays, the family home, and he sort of like absorbs what's going on in the picture, and I suppose he forms a journey in his own little Yarny mind or something like that.
There is an old woman at the very start in this little video at the start, and it kind of feels like maybe Yarny is her memory, like reliving these experiences. That's
a good way to interpret it, to be fair, because you see her at the very beginning in this almost photorealistic cutscene. You can tell she's like the matriarch who lives in a big old family house, and she's reminiscing on times with the family. And she looks a bit sad, and then she goes on upstairs to do her knitting or whatever, and then that's when the ball of yarn rolls down the stairs, isn't it?
Yeah. But the way that you actually, like, this is sort of kind of a hub world. It's a little bit like in Flower, where you've got the plant pots on the windowsill, and you can look out. And here you've got Yarny. You can explore this area a little bit, and there's like a dresser that you clamber up onto, and you go into a photo, and this is like travelling back in time to that. Well, this is how I'm interpreting it. Nobody's Martin Salin, the times that I've spoken to him, has been very much like, we're leaving this open to people's interpretations.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because in these levels you get moments where like you get like a cloud of sparkles, and you walk over to it and you'll see like these kids who are in the photo album suddenly appear, and they're doing something in the background, and Yarny looks over there.
Yeah, and it's just like connecting the dots, because you also have photos in as the levels are loading up, and then you also you get to go back to that photo album, and you get to see that you filled in the pieces, and so you've got these photos now which were previously like decayed and old, and you couldn't really make out what was going on in them. And so I mean, I like that the story, like, it's not really too heavy on the story. You don't need to know what's going on in these people's lives. It's just everybody has memories from their own lives where it's just like, oh, I remember like going to the beach last summer with my mates, and I was just hanging out, and it was a great time. It's that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's not like an overly dramatic story or a story like you see in like a big blockbuster video game. But then again, like Yarny's own adventures in these memories, it's sort of epic on a small scale, I suppose. Like at the end of the second level, for instance, he gets on a motorboat at the end and dashes across the sea.
Yeah, because I mean, Yarny's only about, like, let's say 6 inches tall, so like when he's trying to get through these levels, and yeah, let's talk a bit about the puzzles, really. like you have to try and navigate through these levels, and it's obviously you have to get over a fence or something, so you have to manipulate the yarn, which Yarny is made up of.
Yeah, it's like it doubles up as a kind of lasso and and like an abseiling sort of point as well.
Yeah, it's like a grappling hook. There's certain points that you can latch onto, and you can pull yourself up, or you can use it to swing back and forth. I guess, I mean, it is a puzzle platformer, so like that is the platforming side of things. You've also got a few puzzles. There's one bit where, and this is something that they showed before at Gamescom, there's one bit where you have to, in the watery section, and Yarny doesn't get on with water too well, as I discovered on several occasions. You have a discarded plastic bottle, and it floats in the water, and so you need to
drag it around with you.
Drag this around with you, so that it can help you progress further. And I don't think you will have found the puzzles too tricky at this point. There are a few teasers.
Yeah, it's the right level of challenge really for the game. I thought it gets you to think about your environment and clever ways of using the lasso or the grappling hook, but it's not like an arcade retro platformer where everything on the screen is trying to kill you. No,
but there are things that do try and kill you.
Oh yeah.
So there's obviously the water, but there's also in the second level there are crabs who will grab you and they will whack you into the floor, and it's quite a surprisingly brutal thing. It reminded me a little bit of Limbo.
They're like real crabs as well. Like they move like real crabs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they only have to work in 2 dimensions in the game as well, so that's not too difficult for them. But it has little bits of Limbo, I feel, in it, but it's nowhere near as brutal. You've got a few seconds to pull yourself back out of the water, for example. It's not really trial and error too much. Not try, die, and error. It's more like you have to.
It actually encourages you to, explore, and it doesn't really. If you die, you'll go back. The checkpoints are fairly generous, so it's not as if you're starting from scratch and have a number of lives to keep track of as well.
Well, the checkpoints are an interesting one because you've always got this trail of yarn behind you, and you're always connecting up points as you go through the level. And so, like, you can make little bridges, for example, and this is part of how you move that plastic bottle around. But there's only so much yarn in his body, and so as you get to the end of his thread, quite literally, you sort of see the knots in the last little bits, and you have to try and figure out because there's always little balls of yarn which you can then add to Yarny, and then you've got an extra length of yarn to work with.
That's sort of one of the only challenging things about it, I suppose, is you can't keep looping around certain areas or else you will run out of yarn. If it snags on too many things, then, like you said, he'll go to walk forward and he'll just look back, and you'll see that he's pretty much threadbare and he can't.
Well, one or 2 points where I'm using one of the bridges as a kind of slingshot to like propel me forwards, and you only get 6 inches, and then it just comes straight back down. It's like, oh, I've run out of yarn, and then you have to figure out how you can de-entangle yourself from all of these things and maybe do something in slightly more efficient fashion.
Yeah, unravel yourself. Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice mechanic. It's sort of, as you said, it encourages you to explore, but it also encourages you to like experiment and see how something works, and then you just like rethink it. It's not punishing you.
And it makes that quite clear. It says on the PS4 version anyway, with the DualShock 4, just hold L2 and you'll be able to sort of retrace your route. And that mechanic as well, it just allows you to move at a slower pace, doesn't it? When you're holding L2, so it lets you like abseil down things into situations that might be a bit dangerous. But then if a bit of water comes up or a crab comes running at you, you can just pull yourself back. Yeah,
and that's part of what gives you those few seconds. And yeah, speaking of the crabs and water, like I really love the art style. It's bordering on the sort of photorealistic. But it's, especially in the first 2 levels, it's very, very saturated and like vibrant, and it just feels like that kind of like the final days of the summer holiday type of thing.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of describing it, actually.
And I just like I love the sort of interplay between, you've got the beauty of the nature, but you can also see humanity's influence. A lot of that is kind of like decaying humanity. As I said, you've got the plastic bottle, you've got the ramshackle sort of like pier in the watery section and stuff like that, and it sort of helps that there's also this very rural and folky sounding soundtrack behind it, which I actually really like the soundtrack as well. I think that's lovely.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to describe it. It sounds like a bit Celtic, I suppose. But then again, this is set in I assume it's set in Sweden.
It'll be Swedish folk music, and that's sort of like as a basis. Music's always evolving and adapting over the years, so it's not going to be strictly folk music, it's not going to be strictly modern, it's going to have influences and things from all over the place.
Because the scale of the game's quite small, and because Yarny's quite small as well, like you said, there's a photorealistic level of detail. Like just walking through the garden, and there's parts where to access certain areas you need to like lasso onto a weed or a thistle or something like that and just pull it down.
Yeah,
and the detail on that is just really impressive.
Yeah, no, I think they've done quite a few things very, very well. All right, so I think that's a good place to wrap things up. As I said before, you can play those first 2 levels on February 4th. That's just on Xbox One and PC if you've got the various access subscriptions. If you are waiting for the final release or on PS4, that's February 9th, and we will have a review up whenever that embargo lifts. Thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.